Where the Mercury at? Okay. Okay. Well. Hello, Temi, my love. Welcome to your roast or reading. If you've never been here before, my name is Riley X. I'm a professional astrologer, and these are my fun little intro type of readings where I kind of roast you. We're being playful, but in actuality, this is a reading and it'll be helpful, hopefully. So stick around if you're interested. Okay, Temi, my love, let's jump right in. So starting with the rising sign, you are a Virgo rising. Now, why this is kind of interesting, very interesting, is this pulls you into your Mercury. So being a Virgo rising, you're already someone who wants to find out the truth, find the receipts, dig deeper, make things happen. You're probably a doer, or you want to be a doer because your Mars is in Pisces. So can you actually do? We'll get to that in a minute. But you like to do, you want to be doing things. And then with your Mercury being in Scorpio, you want to get to the bottom of it. So because you're Virgo rising, you're constantly being pulled into your Scorpio Mercury, and that deep desire to solve things becomes a little overwhelming, especially since your Mercury is in the third house. The third house is ruled by Mercury. The third house wants to constantly think about whatever is in it, right? So you're thinking about thoughts, which is a dangerous place to be. Okay. So with your sun in Scorpio in the second house, there is this extra level of trying to either prove your worth, prove your value, or trying to understand yourself on a deeper level. The reason I say this is the sun placement is what gives us life. It's what makes us feel fulfilled, right? Scorpio energy is ruled by Mars. It's ruled by Pluto. So there's this deep desire to take action on taboo things, deep diving into the darker aspects of reality, maybe psychological stuff, especially because your Mercury is here. More of that psychological aspect. You can very easily, very quickly get stuck in trying to prove yourself. This is intensified by the fact that your South Node is also in Scorpio. So something that I immediately see could be holding you back is, how are you seeing yourself? Are you seeing yourself through the lens of who you used to be? Or are you allowing yourself to grow and seeing what you've actually made for your life and how you've been able to build stability for your life when you trust? Oh man, here we go. Here it starts. I was like, where is this other Pisces energy going to come in? When you lean into the ninth house, the North Node in the ninth, trusting that there is more to this world. There's more going on than what you can actually see, do, smell, taste, touch, right? When you lean into your North Node in Taurus and create a sense of grounding, create a sense of safety for yourself, you will feel more connected to everything around you. And you are constantly being asked to trust the process. You're constantly being asked to trust the process. Your Mars placement will always be how you take action, how you motivate yourself. So for you to have your moon in Pisces, but also your Mars in Pisces in the sixth house, there's this deep desire to take action from a creative, gentle place. So having your Mars in Pisces in the sixth can be a little tricky when you're trying to stick to a schedule the way your Virgo energy wants, right? You also have Virgo Jupiter in the 12th. So this subconscious desire to expand daily, expand on your routines, expand in a healthy way, expand who you can help, right? There's this deep desire for expansion around this Virgo energy, this feeling of wanting to prove that you're doing enough or wanting to feel like you're really doing enough. I think there's a catch-22 here. Oof. No. I was like, there's something else here that just feels like it's sticking a little bit. The Virgo energy, Virgo rules the 6th house. So when you can connect to your subconscious, when you are in a place where you feel grounded, you feel sure of yourself, you're learning to trust the process, you're learning to trust the magic in those daily routines that seem kind of pointless most of the time. You need to trust that those daily routines, waking up and meditating, making sure you're drinking water, being mindful of what you're consuming for your own mind. And when you learn to trust in your own Virgo magic, when you learn to trust that by keeping things simple, by sticking to the details, by focusing on the little things and not getting obsessed, not trying to perfect, not trying to make everything exactly how you want it to be and expecting a very certain outcome. That's not what I'm saying. When you stick to trusting the process and knowing those little tiny things that you're doing every day do build up to the bigger picture, you're going to immediately feel more fulfilled, and it's going to be easier to motivate yourself with this Pisces Mars. The reason is Pisces Mars, you gotta almost schedule daydream time, okay? I would highly recommend having a semi-rigid schedule of making sure you get up in time to do all the things you need to do and have at least 15 minutes of being a daydreamer. You need to get lost in your own imagination sometimes. You need to get lost in how you're feeling and let yourself feel it fully and let it be natural. When you do those things, when you see the value in your emotion, when you see the value in how you're feeling, it's not only easier for you to motivate yourself and use that energy, but you won't get stuck in emotions you can't understand anymore. It'll be easier to just flow with them and you won't get so stuck in your head, right? Get out of your head into your body. Now, as I'm talking about emotions, I was like, wait, what do we got going on in Cancer? You have your Saturn retrograde in Cancer in the 10th. If you don't know and you don't learn how to feel your feelings and feel connected to your emotions, you are going to have a hard time growing long term. Saturn restricts whatever it touches, right? So you may have felt held back by emotions, or you could feel like your emotions are always the thing holding you back. But when you do exactly what I was just saying and find the rhythm of getting into alignment, feeling your feelings, connecting to yourself, connecting to your passions, which, let's come back to this 3rd house as well. The depth of understanding that you have on either psychology or spirituality or witchy topics because of all the Scorpio and the Pluto in Sagittarius is also such a witchy energy because it's all about breaking boundaries. It's all about expanding your mind on what spirituality even is. And Venus in Sagittarius is such a energy that represents a love of spiritual practice, a love of expansion, a love of trusting that things are... It's more fun when you let yourself have fun, right? It's more fun when you let yourself actually expand and experience things in a new way. Okay, so Saturn is kind of a sneaky energy in your life because your Saturn is in Cancer, right? So the way you build structure is not going to look the way most people would consider Saturn energy to look, but this is in the 10th house, which is ruled by Saturn. So when you figure this out of how to feel your feelings, how to let yourself be the emotional being that you actually are and to no longer blame yourself for that, it'll be easier to get things moving. If you're not working with the moon, I would highly recommend, okay? Because being restricted by Cancer energy is so interesting because the moon isn't restrictive. The moon is about the tides and the process and the trust of the ebb and the flow, right? I don't know why I'm return the slab. But finding that stable structure, feeling safe, feeling grounded is actually opposing your Chiron, your biggest wound. So the struggle here is learning to overcome your own personal wounds, your own personal fears, and doing it in a way that could be different from how your inner child thought you were going to do things, from how you were taught by your family is probably a really big one that you need to let go of. Chiron in Capricorn is the wound of achievement. So with that in the 4th house, I don't think you were really celebrated as a kid. Baby girl. I don't think you were celebrated enough. I think there was always more you could do. There was always more you could do. There was always more you could expand on. And it's so tricky because there are things in our life that happen for a reason, right? There are things in our life that challenge us to accept our astrology in one way, shape, or form. So I think a huge hurdle in your chart, especially with Pluto transiting your 5th house of creativity, creation, expression. But this energy is really screaming maladaptive daydreaming, right? This energy of not necessarily being able to focus the way other people do, not being able to do things in the same way. Because your moon in Pisces, which I didn't really get to, your moon in Pisces is also such an energy of being naturally intuitive, knowing what you need to do and being able to do it when you trust yourself. I think what's so interesting is the only thing that could potentially be holding you back from using all of this beautiful energy in a way that feels good and not heavy is by trusting you don't have to create the flow of the tide. You just have to get in flow with the tide. Does that make sense? So what I mean when I say that is I think there's this feeling like you have to do something that maybe you don't want to do, and by proving your worth, by proving your value, you'll somehow be able to show up differently at some point in your life. I disagree wholeheartedly. Love you so much. Instead, if you can see this energy from a different perspective, if you can see this energy from a place where you are meant to challenge the way we think about things. Ooh, hold on, I forgot Pluto. You are meant to challenge the way we think about things. You are meant to deep dive into whatever it is that interests you. Psychology is probably a big one. Spirituality. And use what you learn, use what you know to get excited about doing things that are meaningful to you on a daily basis, right? This moon in Pisces is in the 7th. I want to mention that. So there is a desire to connect with others that you can't force. You can't make that happen. You have to trust the flow of that, right? So leaning into this intuitive knowing of what you want to do, maybe not necessarily how you're going to do it, but what do you want to do? Let yourself be a daydreamer. Let yourself get excited about what you're doing. It's going to be so much easier to motivate you. But that will be so much more of you being able to get in tune with the emotional wave that you're currently riding and no longer feeling hindered by your emotions, right? Because the problem with the way people talk about Saturn, it's malefic, it's evil. Yes, it is restrictive. Yes, it creates boundaries. But if you notice this little teeny tiny R, with Saturn retrograde, you're the one that's putting those restrictions on yourself. You're the one that's going to have to lift those restrictions off of you. So Saturn retrograde in Cancer in the 10th is all about learning to get in tune with your feelings, get in tune with your emotions, accept that you are in fact an emotional person. You're a sensitive person. You're meant to be. So build structure around that knowing. Don't try to change who you are to fit this regimen of this wound that you may or may not still be feeling. Chiron being the biggest wound in our chart, it's something that always sort of comes back around. And I feel like if you've processed this once, you may have to process it again, because you cannot do things there is no blueprint, is what I'm trying to say. There is no blueprint to how you're going to do it except for this right here. This right here, your chart, I guess I should say, this right here, your chart is going to be the exact thing on how to create that success that you're hoping for, how to create that achievement that would heal your inner child. You have to believe that being an emotional person is not the problem. But again, you need to focus on your subconscious, how you're thinking about yourself. If you're overthinking, if you're trying to perfect yourself, which you've got some pretty heavy perfectionism issue points in your chart. And the North Node being in Taurus is something that I only just hit on a little bit. It's in the 9th house. So there's this desire to create some sort of connection between the spiritual realm and this third dimension, right? So whether that means how you make money is based off of your spiritual practice and teaching other people how to connect to theirs, or if you just let yourself fully feel what it means to be human and connect to something that feels so good to you that it is spiritually fulfilling. I think that's really what this North Node in Taurus in the 9th is asking you to do, is to trust that building something that is tangible, that is real, that is in this third dimension, that is in this earth, that is not just for your own spiritual growth, but instead a part of this reality, that is going to be so fulfilling to your life. So this doesn't mean you have to go and like want a Tesla and you have to have the new Hermes bag. Like, no, you need to see that what you do want to create is exactly what you should be doing. But I do think there could potentially be a little bit of a fear of making money doing what you love because of the Lilith. Lilith, she's basically just the shadow, right? She's something that you can't avoid. She's something you have to accept. And the truth of the matter is we do live in a material world. So if you let yourself want those material things from a perspective of experience, right? The 9th house is all about experience, growth, travel. If you let yourself do it for that excitement instead of quantifying if it's enough or how much you're spending or whatever, it's going to feel more fulfilling that way as well. But I do genuinely think one of the biggest things you need to learn to accept about yourself is you do things differently. You may take longer to do them. You are likely a very sensitive soul. You're likely somebody who just really wants to do right by your family and the people around you. But really what you need to do is become more selfish with how you're thinking, what you're thinking about, how you're thinking about yourself, and how you could expand instead of trying to control what you're putting out. Let yourself be creative, let it flow. And let me know if you need more help. Thank you so much, Temi, my love. I hope you enjoyed this. And if you are interested in booking a full session, working with me through my coaching, or wanting to get one of your own roast or readings, you can check me out at rxtarot.com. Bye.